My name is Barnaby Rogerson. I'm a 62-year-old publisher based on London, and I've been travelling in Morocco since I've been a 17-year-old. My first fortunate task, was writing a guidebook to Morocco and updating it. So there were 5 editions, and each allowed me to travel further into Morocco and pick out regions that I hadn't explored so well, and to dig further into the historical monuments. I'm afraid I'm not the least bit interested in conventional tourist sites, and so I ignored much of what people come here for. Tourists interested in golf courses and skiing has not been my interest. I've been digging further and further into the Islamic culture of Morocco, so much so that later on I felt that I would like to write a history of North Africa, including Morocco and Tunisia, Libya and Algeria, sitting the Moroccan element in relationship to its neighbours in the Sahara as well. And when I finished that, I then wrote a short biography of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, not at all for any Muslim ever to read. I was aware that there was so much prejudice in Britain against Islamic culture. I wanted to tell the story using the landscape that I'd got to know as a young travel writer. And when that was finished, I wrote a book about the heirs of the Prophet, how the first 4 caliphs and the structure of the Umayyad Empire fitted into the spiritual heritage of the Prophet Muhammad, and how politics got divorced from the sort of strict spiritual message of the Quran. When you're an old man like me, age 62, you can make sense of your life by looking backwards, and you can join the dots together. But when you're young, so much is the chance and seizing the opportunity. And my father was a naval officer in Gibraltar when the frontier with Spain was closed. And I spent a lot of time travelling across for holidays or weekends, or even simple shopping to Tangier, to Tetuan, and then explored Szechuan and Azila, bit by bit, in a very natural sort of weekendy way. So I didn't have that intense sort of go to Morocco, have a big Moroccan experience. It was like a neighbourhood. And it was very lucky that there were some very nice Moroccan traders in Gibraltar at the time, and workers and gardeners, and we got to know and talk to them. And it was just a sort of a very easy open door. Perhaps being 17 and 18 helps, and you're not judging the world, you're just exploring it. Because of my work updating my guidebook, I wanted to make more money. Being a writer doesn't pay much. And so I also became a history lecturer on tours, often 2 weeks or 10 days, going from Tangier down to Erfurt and ending up at Marrakech. So I spent a lot of time in Morocco, working with Moroccan colleagues, getting to know more of sort of Moroccan domestic life. And in the process, I met Alan, who's a fantastic photographer, and has photographed some of the people of the Middle and the High Atlas. And I must have known him possibly for 20 or 30 years. And very nice, easy relationship. And he was talking about having a festival in Marrakech, partly to raise money of this incredible charity that helps Berber girls in the High Atlas go to a very safe boarding school, looked after by their cousins, their sort of trusted Berber women of good faith, and it was a wonderful project. So I immediately said yes, and I've been supporting him from the sidelines. Alan has totally run everything, but I'm like one of the people cheering on the edge of the football field, and it's entirely due to his energy and delightful sense of bringing people together. And it's wonderful to watch someone who's got no possible benefit from this festival, just doing it out of his love of dialogue and meeting, and he's a photographer, and I don't think he's been showing his work at all. He's a very admirable man. I came to Morocco, which I've known very well in my past, but I haven't been here for many years, not only COVID. I've been working on the Roman ruins of Turkey, and I've been researching a book on the Shia and Sunni conflict zones of the Middle East, which is a very foolish thing to engage in because it's an incredibly complex subject that involves exploring southern Lebanon and getting to know Iran, and looking at the Alevi culture and the Alawi culture in Syria and in Turkey. And that has almost taken over my life as a traveller over the last 8 years. But it's wonderful to return back to Morocco, partly because Morocco doesn't suffer from any of the civil strife that I've been witnessing in Syria and Iraq, and recently in Iran. My advice to young writers is always to do it, but not to rush into publication. There is a moment of glory, your first book, your mother, your aunts, everybody's behind you, your friends. And you want to make certain your first entry into that printed world is going to work. And I was listening to a young Moroccan writer, and his advice was absolutely spot on, which is you cannot edit your own work. You have to get an editor. If you can't afford to employ someone, I heard very, very good advice from a very, very successful British writer called William Dalrymple, who, when he started out, found 12 friends who all read books, his mother's friends, his aunt, his cousin, and he gave them a typewritten draft of his book and said, tick if you quite like it, give it a double tick if you find it funny or interesting, and draw a sort of wiggly line if you're getting rather bored. And he did that. He married all these 20 readers, all unprofessional, nothing to do with publication, and made his first book tremendously successful by just using natural friendships. And really, it's about editing, which is very difficult for a writer. When you've done it, you've finally produced a book, you think, it's now ready to go. It's not ready. It needs to be tightened up and to be edited. I'm suffering from my current book because, despite being a publisher myself and being asked for 95,000 words, I got so into my subject, I wrote 250,000, and that's got to be cut back a bit.